well, I think we should start as we did back then. Should we have some shots?
Let's do it.
All right, what kind of shot are you going to have today? Tequila? Just kidding.
Tequila makes me black out, as does ginger, apparently.
Healthy girlies can black out too.
Oh, I'm getting kind of emotional.
I'm so sad that you got diagnosed. I almost said I'm so happy that you got diagnosed. Jesus Christ.
Star patient because I would fill out my diary so well, not because I was doing well on the medication. The medication actually didn't work that long.
An A+ in being the patient, a F- in the body responding to medication.
Yeah.
That's what every patient wants, that outcome actually.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Not So Sick Chicks podcast. I'm Biz, I live in San Francisco, and I have metastatic breast cancer, and this is my co-host Alex.
I'm Alex Wildeson. I live in Austin, Texas. I've got, I think, 5 autoimmune diseases at this point, but honestly, probably more. It's the gift that just keeps on giving.
Yes.
And I'm stoked to be on this podcast with you, Biz.
We're so excited that you guys are joining us today. First things first, please hit like and follow and subscribe on wherever you're listening to or watching this podcast, because Alex and I both have a ton of medical bills and could really use your help. Alternatively, if you want to just Venmo us some cash, we are totally fine with that as well.
Yeah, we're pretty much cheap whores. And if all of this doesn't work, I will post my very beautiful vasculitis feet pics on OnlyFans.
Yes.
Just for a small price. Sorry, Mom. And you get those for free, Mom. I'm cutting you a deal. But the real reason that we're here and that we started this podcast is because when Bisma and I were first diagnosed, like anyone, we went online and WebMD told us we were dead or dying. And when we went to the Facebook support groups for each of our respective diseases, it confirmed that. And it was often written by people quite a bit older than us that didn't have the same shared viewpoint of maybe I don't have to accept that outcome. So Biz and I wanted to create something different, a different kind of community, bring people together that shared this hope and wanted to feel better together.
Alex and I are both ex-investment bankers, and so one skill set that we took away from that is that we definitely both know how to put lipstick on a pig, and we kind of just thought, why not rebrand being sick? Why not have a community where we can laugh together, sometimes cry, and why not try to just make lemonade out of lemons?
And full disclosure, we are not doctors by any means, although we may pretend to sometimes have a medical degree due to the vast amount of research we have done. We are not, but we are very open-minded to trying anything that might help us feel better. From Western medicine to functional, Eastern, the hippie shit, the woo-woo shit, bring it on. We want to try it, and we're going to share our experiences with y'all.
Yes, mind, body, soul, all of it. We are open to trying anything once, twice, 3 times. So yeah, each week we're going to talk about different topics with you guys. And we thought this week, just to kick it off, we'll just do a little bit of our background and who we are and how we know each other.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I think we should start as we did back then. Should we have some shots?
Let's do it.
All right. What kind of shot are you going to have today? Tequila? Just kidding.
Tequila makes me black out.
Same.
As does ginger, apparently. So.
Oh. Healthy girlies can black out too.
I am doing my first shot. I'm having 2. So I'm doing a wheatgrass, ginger, and lemon. What about you?
I'm doing a cucumber, kale, lemon, and ginger shot. And then I'm going to do a ginger, turmeric, carrot shot.
Okay, yeah. My second shot is ginger, turmeric, lemon, black pepper.
Yes, the black pepper. It's so crucial.
You need it to activate the turmeric.
Exactly. All right. Cheers.
Let's do it. Cheers.
Whew. Yum.
Ugh, burns.
Burns the same as tequila. It doesn't matter what you switch to.
Yeah. I can't get this one open.
They're adult proof.
Okay, I really can't get this open. Okay, I got it.
Okay.
All right.
Cheers.
Whew.
one has that one burned.
That one burned, yeah.
I feel like that was the best way to possibly go back into a flashback to banking.
Yes, exactly.
All right, well, let's set the stage. When you entered banking, tell us a little bit about what life was like. Where were you?
Yeah, so it was summer of 2018. I had just graduated business school, moved back to Houston, and I was fresh off of a divorce. And by fresh, I mean weeks, not months, not a year, literally weeks out of a divorce. And then, you know, the wonderful emotional state that I was in at that point, decided to further put myself in emotional turmoil and join investment banking.
That's just so wise. So wise.
So yeah, I joined that summer, and Alex, you were already there for, I think, a year at that point. What was going on in your life?
I think I was about a year in. I had just moved to be closer to downtown. Cooper and I were still dating. He would, bless his heart, drive down every single weekend his senior year of college to hang out with me. And by hang out with me, I mean literally clean my apartment, cook me food, and watch me sleep or work. It was the best time in our relationship. Honestly, worse than when I was
swaddle you.
Yeah, swaddle me. You could say it was worse than when I was going through chemotherapy together. It was absolutely the worst, but it brought me you, so I'll be thankful for that.
Silver lining. I remember, I feel like I'll always remember the first time we met. It was, do you remember the story?
Yes.
It was in a bathroom of a club. We had a company event, company happy hour, which turned into a 2 a.m. night, as it usually did. And we met in a bathroom of a club. I walked into the restroom, and Alex was there with another coworker friend of ours. And Alex came up to me. Do you remember what you said?
Oh, of course I do. And I also need to preface that I was hoping you had followed me into the bathroom, because I'd been watching you like a creepy hawk the entire night, being like, those guys are going to hit on her and they're going to be creepheads to her. I'm going to protect her. So when you came in, I was like, hi, I'm your coworker, Alex. One of the other 5 girls in our office. And that dude that's been talking to you, he takes his wedding ring off at work, but he's married and has children, so just be careful.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. I was just so new and green and like not in this world. And I was just like, oh, he was being really nice and chit-chatting with me the whole night. I didn't think much of it, but
that's what a friendly coworker does.
Yeah.
Just stand super creepily close to you. But that was like the first night that we realized we've got to be friends, because we have to make it through this hellhole together.
Yeah. And so the rest of the summer was more nights like that.
Yeah.
The work situation was, as you imagine investment banking being, a lot of crazy hours, working late nights, a lot of Excel, a lot of PDFing shit, and basically pretending to do a lot of meaningful work while literally not doing anything.
100%. Our meaningful work was just turning comments at egregious hours of the day and night. It was awful. But I will say, I did learn a couple of amazing things, like all of the hotkeys for Excel and PowerPoint. Very, very important. That you only turn comments or write comments in red ink, and that one must print it out to review it the proper way.
Yeah, absolutely. And you should never have grid lines in Excel. Mm-hmm. Like that is
Bible.
That is just like such a elementary thing to do.
Absolutely. God.
Yeah.
But we were so sickeningly obsessed with those jobs. I mean, it was like bragging rights to stay up the latest or be working on the most amount of deals. And I don't know if it was that. It was probably a combination of that, all the espresso that we would consume, the Vyvanse and Adderall, and, the blatant sexual harassment. I mean, I was a puddle of a human after investment banking.
Same. It took me a couple of years to unlearn a lot of those behaviors. Like for the longest time, I would continue to sleep with my phone alarm on full blast, because there were so many nights in banking where, if comments came in or an email came in at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, you had to respond right away. And so I would always sleep with my phone alarm on blast. And it took me a couple years to be like, okay, well, I can actually turn my phone on silent. I don't have to sleep with this ready to go at all times.
And the golden rule, you must respond within, was it 15 minutes?
No, it was like 5 minutes.
That checks out on why people really liked working with me.
Were you responding to things in 15 minutes? That's
Yes.
way too late.
And honestly,
No.
sometimes on purpose, I'd be like, I'm waiting another 12 minutes just to cut it to the wire because F you.
No. You should have read your emails like immediately and responded. If it takes you more than 5 minutes to respond, there's something wrong.
And there was something wrong with me. That is for sure. Oh, I got so tired when we were in banking. I mean, I had mixed connective tissue disease at this point in my life. And
Which I cannot imagine, like going through a health issue and working like that.
it was some psycho behavior, that's for sure. I remember there was one time I would just get so tired, I'd forget to do basic things as a sick chick. Like ask the waiter if there was peanuts or tree nuts in the food I was eating. And I remember we were at dinner with two of our other colleagues. I was just frantically eating everything, shoveling it into my mouth, and then started realizing that the itching in my mouth was not because the food was spicy, but because I was having an allergic reaction. So
Yes, I remember this.
you like shove Benadryl in my mouth. I still go into anaphylactic shock. And so one of our other neighbors takes me back to my apartment and kind of chill out. I think I'm fine. I start throwing up later in the night. And it was at that point where I was like, oh, and I bet that going into anaphylactic shock means I get to have at least a few hours to myself. And so I
No.
went and knocked on our colleague's door and I was like, will you drive me to the emergency room? My throat's closing. And I think I got like 5 hours of no email harassment. It was awesome. But that just shows you how low my bar for life was during that time. But you would work. You worked when you were in the ER.
There was one night where I remember that I had to go to the ER. I had massive anxiety during my investment banking days. So
I wonder why, Biz.
the work for sure, but also just because of all the stuff that was going on in my personal life was just really anxious, really jittery, and jittery is like a cute way to put what I was going through.
Yeah.
But I remember one night I had an anxiety attack, panic attack, whatever you want to call it. Ended up in the ER, and I was also still working. And so I took my laptop with me, took the charger with me, and was in the ER. Was there for probably an hour or so. And then, you know, as most of my ER trips go, they gave me some Xanax and were like, you need to go home. And that one was particularly funny because I was working, I was turning some comments, and I was just sitting there, you know, typing away. And the doctor came back in and he said, you know, you're discharged, right? You can go ahead and head home. And I said, oh yeah, I said, I'm still working. I actually can't leave right now. I just need to finish this real quick. And he was like, there's other people waiting in the waiting room. So we really need this room. You're going to have to go. And I remember just being so upset because I, you know, needed to finish the comments. I couldn't just leave in the middle of doing that. But
I mean, how rude of him to kick you out of your office, the
Yes.
ER room.
It just reminds me so much of how priorities back then were just so different.
Yes.
You know, you're in an ER setting that clearly shows that, you know, something's going on, that, you know, your health is not doing well. But my biggest priority at that time was finishing my work and making sure that people at work weren't upset with me and that I was being a good worker and good team player. And, you know, getting diagnosed with something as serious as breast cancer now, my priorities are just completely different. I'm actually on medical leave right now. And so that in itself has been a big shift of just learning to prioritize myself and
Absolutely.
my health and not, you know, not fiscal responsibility.
Yes. I mean, I think that's such a good point, though. Like, there is nothing as humbling as getting diagnosed with these diseases and then all of a sudden realizing that your people-pleasing ways are giving you a massive disservice. So you have to learn how to, like, say no, which is, it turns out to be incredibly difficult for people like us.
Yes. Both of us are massive people pleasers. I think
Yeah.
that's a personality trait that we've both had since we were young, and getting sick will make you have to reevaluate that really quickly, because
Yes.
you have to put yourself first, and you have to, let people kind of be disappointed in you, and just be okay with that, and learn to, not making other people happy your biggest priority.
100%. And putting boundaries up. And also,
Yes.
like, oh gosh, I think it was my sister-in-law gave me the book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, when I first got sick. Because she would...
I just read that recently.
It's so good.
Yeah.
She would see me just absolutely struggling when it didn't have to be that hard. If I just said, man, that person sucks for not respecting my boundary, or man, I don't need to be that hard on myself that I'm missing XYZ event, I probably wouldn't have been as stressed, and who knows how good that could have been for my body. Because it's all connected.
Totally.
Okay, so anyway, we were in banking. Shortly after Biz and I met, I come back to the office one day, a mom of this beautiful, beautiful little girl named Knox. And she is a puppy, a Maltipoo, that I found on Craigslist after being bamboozled not once, but twice into almost sending some stranger money through a Cash App. Which also just highlights how incoherent my brain was working at this point in our lives.
I know. I actually gave you, so I had a dog at that time, and I gave you the number of the breeder.
Yes.
That I use, and I don't know what happened in the mix, but you ended up going on Craigslist to get your dog.
It's because I was poor, I'm pretty sure. I was like, no, I'm not going to spend hundreds of dollars on a dog. I'm going to find one on Craigslist for less than $100. So, do you remember when I got Knox?
Yeah.
I brought our colleague with us, and I was like, hey, I'm going to pretend like you're my cousin, and I told this person that you're my cousin, and I need you to go pick up the dog with me to make sure I don't get killed or kidnapped again. And he was like, okay, absolutely. So we pull up to the parking lot at Starbucks, and this lady gets out of her car and gives me the strangest look, like, there's no way in hell you guys are cousins. You are a blonde Norwegian, and he is not.
And at this point, she's probably scared for her safety.
Absolutely. She's like, who are these psychos in suits right now? So we get Knox. I go back home, and the next day I'm showing pictures of her. I'm so excited. And all of our senior team members are looking at me like, you are not going to be able to raise a dog. You are an investment banking analyst at a boutique bank. But unbeknownst to them, I was quitting. And this was my first step in that direction, because I knew I would hold true to that desire to leave if there was something that would force me to do that, which would be a dog. So the day our bonuses hit our banking account, I was like, I'm out of here. I'm so out of here. Didn't pack up my stuff, actually. I left during lunch, and I never came back. And you and our other friend of the Tres Amigas brought me my stuff weeks later. And then I went home, and that began my great hibernation of feeling like shit, and definitely the beginning of vasculitis starting in my body.
Yes, I remember that very clearly. I remember your exit email. I remember you saying, nice to work with you guys. Obviously, wasn't nice to work with them, but you also said something. You also said, I'm going to take this time and focus on my health. And I remember that day in the office, there was such a buzz, like, what's wrong with Alex's health? And no one had any idea what you were talking about. And I think that very much shows how much we were prioritizing work over our health at that time.
Yeah.
And, people didn't even know the slightest bit of what was going on in our personal lives.
And I had been in and out of the ER several times that spring.
Yeah.
Restarted Rituxan, which is an IV infusion medication. It gives you side effects similar to chemotherapy, but it's a biologic. And I think I told only DL team members what was going on. So it wasn't, it wasn't broadcasted across the entire company. But that said, we didn't work at that big of a bank. So most people did actually know. And it was super disappointing when I left, and no one really understood why.
Yeah. That is sad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad that you made that decision to leave and take that time to prioritize your health. And
Me too.
why don't you give us a little update on, where's your health at now?
Yeah, so my health now, I've gotten diagnosed with 4 more autoimmune diseases since that time. The first one was psoriasis. That was that fall. The second one was polyarteritis nodosa, which is a subset of vasculitis. Essentially robs your organ systems of essential oxygen and nutrients, and it can cause those organ systems to die off. I also have dysautonomia, small fiber neuropathy, and complex regional pain syndrome, as well as endometriosis. So, just a short list of issues.
Do you get like little badges for all these things?
I wish. I think I'm going to start making some for myself.
You should. You should like,
Ooh.
do you remember an Office Space where they would wear those those little, what do they call them? Tchotchkes?
Tchotchkes? Yeah, I think tchotchkes.
I think tchotchkes, yeah. So I think you would have like a vest full of tchotchkes at this point.
It's merch coming to you soon. Yeah, it was a time, but I'm so happy that I did leave banking. At that point, too, I was getting like pretty horrifically sexually harassed. I had a colleague who no longer works in finance because he got arrested by the FBI. But he asked to buy my underwear in meetings in front of people, like would creepily massage my shoulders. It was just, I was beyond my breaking point. I had to go. And it put me in a path to really be able to focus on my health, sort of. I mean, I didn't for a few more years, but at least I wasn't there.
I'm really proud of you for taking that time to focus on yourself and really prioritize your health over everything else.
Thanks, Biz. I appreciate that.
So, Alex, why don't you share a little bit about where you're at currently with your health? I know with autoimmune, it's kind of a changing evergreen landscape. So I think it'd be beneficial to hear where you're at right now.
Yes, it is ever changing, I swear. So last year, right around when you got sick, I got denied for something called IVIG. And when I hit the wall with Western medicine, I turned to holistic stuff. And I was like, you know what? I love to research. I could care less for what happens now because I feel like I'm at my all-time low. I'm gonna do some science on myself. So I started doing lymphatic drainage massages, infrared saunas, exercising every single day and finding movement even on the bad days. It could be as gentle as just stretching in bed. Started working with a functional provider, did quantum energy healing, literally anything and everything I have now researched, and I've tried the ones that stood out the best to me. And I'm still always doing this because I think however changing our bodies are, the landscape for medicine is also always changing. So post my surgery, I was in a really good place still with my autoimmune stuff. I wasn't having any flare-ups. I was feeling pretty okay, besides obviously excruciating fucking back pain, until I caught COVID. And COVID always does a number on me. I think actually like any infection does a number on me. But basically what happens is I stop responding to whatever chemotherapy or immunosuppressant I'm on, and I start flaring up. So as of like the end of February, beginning of March, things have not been quite as good. And what that means for me is an increase in pain and inflammation. So I become extra sensitive to the foods or environment that I'm in. Stress does more of a number on me than when I'm in more of a remission-like state. And so I have to be very, very on top of my routine and regimen. But that's okay because, when you're an autoimmune girly, you become an expert at pivoting. So yeah, now I'm on medical leave. I've taken medical leave one other time in my life. And it was when I was just having a really, really tough go right when I got diagnosed with vasculitis. And this medical leave has allowed me to really dive back into what's working for me and what's not working for me. And opened up the time and energy for you and I to do this podcast finally.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, but enough about me. Biz, I'm so sad that you got diagnosed. I almost said I'm so happy that you got diagnosed. Jesus Christ. I'm so glad that you're in the sick chick club with me.
I get what you're saying, though. Like, I'm happy. Like, we're happy that we're in this together.
Yes.
obviously both of these situations
are shitty,
suck. And
yes,
it's sad, but you know, having a best friend to go through this with, like, there's definitely a blessing in that.
100%. To be able to share like the emotions that no matter how much your family and friends will try to be there and understand for you,
yeah,
only other people that are going through similar things can speak a certain language with you. And being able to do that
Absolutely.
with you, who I already talked to on the phone and FaceTime with like 3 hours a day, has been one of the best blessings in my entire life.
Yeah. And I think one of the biggest things that's come out of this is that we get to now share and swap stories of what's working for us.
Yes.
You know, whether it's, you know, things like acupuncture, infrared, etc.
Yeah.
We get to talk about all those. We talk about nutrition and health and what we're eating. I'm a big believer, as you guys, if you're watching, you can see of having green juices throughout my day. And so I think it's, you know, it's things like that that we swap stories about. And
yeah,
that's, you know, exactly what we want to do on this podcast here, is that we want to be able to share with you what we're doing.
and lean on each other. Goodness. Like I feel like when one of us has a bad day, the other one usually is on and can pull us out of it. It's amazing. And we get to go and explore cool things together. Like we're going to the Joe Dispenza retreat in Cancun this summer, where we're going to go meditate for like 7 days straight, meditate ourselves right out of being a sick chick.
Yeah.
We're giving it more than a college try, guys. I know that everyone says try meditation, try yoga, but I feel like usually people just roll their eyes to that. But we are going to give it a 100% effort try, and we will report back on how it goes. Okay, so why don't you tell us a little bit about how you made your grand entrance into the Sick Chick Club?
So I left investment banking during COVID. I rage quit my investment banking job here in San Francisco, and, you know, I didn't work for a year. And I think, and during that time is actually when I met my husband. So I think there's something to say about,
I love that.
Good things happen. Good things happen when you leave banking.
Yes, 100%. You found a dog.
Yeah.
You found a dog. You found a husband. I found a dog.
So I think being, you know, the overachiever that I am, I didn't want to just enter in some small way. I wanted to make a big splash.
Totally.
Coming into the Sick Chick Club. And so last year, around this time, probably, you know, 13, 14 months ago at this time, I was pregnant and super excited to welcome our first child, and started having really crazy back pain. Like excruciating, screaming, could not move, you know, felt paralyzed in the pain.
It was so scary.
It was super scary. And so I ended up going to the emergency room. This is when I was in Austin visiting family. Mm-hmm. And so went to the ER, and they did a scan, and the doctor came in and said, you have metastatic cancer on your spine. And I was like, I don't know what that word means. And my sister was in the room with me, and she was holding my hand, and she said metastatic means stage 4. And I remember, you know, kind of, I feel like I blacked out. I blacked out.
How could you not?
The rest of it, yes. It was just really bizarre to hear. And they said, you know, we have to figure out where the cancer is originating from. It's not originating in the spine. We're just seeing lesions in your spine. And the next several days were filled with full body CT, PET, MRI, all of those scans. And they found a less than 2 centimeter lump in my right breast, biopsied it. And that's where the cancer was coming from. It was hormone driven, which is why me being pregnant was an issue. Like kind of like lit the cancer on fire.
Yeah.
And they said, you know, you have to start treatment right away. If you continue your pregnancy, you're not going to make it. And I was, you know, I struggled with that decision. Me and my husband both were very excited to welcome this child, and we had a really hard time deciding. But ultimately, you know, we wanted to start the treatment, and with Texas laws being as they are, even though the pregnancy was life-threatening, you know, we weren't able to do a DNC procedure there. And so we ended up flying back to California and doing it there. During that time, my spine was so fragile that ended up fracturing in several places. So I had to have emergency spinal surgery. Then we did the DNC procedure, and it ended up being about 3.5 weeks, almost a month in the hospital total. And yeah, that's what happened.
You made a splash, girl.
I'm in the Sick Chick Club now, and similar to Alex, I just, I'm getting kind of emotional.
Oh, my honey, I'm sorry. It's okay. Yeah. I mean, this is raw. It's hard to walk through. What part was it that hit you?
It's like every time I say this aloud, it's really difficult. Like when I look at myself on the screen, I see someone who I've always seen, right? Like someone who is well put together, has their makeup on.
Yeah.
And it's hard to be like, okay, well, that's this person who has stage 4 cancer.
Yeah. I can only
really
imagine.
difficult.
I think it's when you get sick and you don't have time to sit and process it all the way. I mean, it takes years to process it. It takes years to accept that new identity. And it's not something that happens overnight, and it's bizarre. I remember when you first got sick, you were so fucking strong during all of it. You just put your head down and marched. And now that you're a year in, you've gone through a couple of treatments. It's probably good that you're starting to feel it and sit with it all, because this has been fucking life-changing, to say the least.
Yep.
And however fun and happy we can and want to be about everything, the reality is it fucking sucks and it's hard. And what you went through was a really collapsed timeline that most people don't experience in their entire life.
Yeah. I think another thing that's been really difficult is that when I went through my divorce in 2018, I felt like that was the hardest thing I'd ever gone through. And it was traumatic and heartbreaking. And, I lost my best friend, and I just literally felt like my world was completely turned over, upside down, and I didn't know how to function. And then when this cancer diagnosis came up last year, I felt like I was reliving this awful nightmare of my world being turned upside down.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Maybe give us a little insight of like, where are you right now with it, treatment wise, what's working, what's not working, and where do you feel like your mindset is?
Whenever I think I'm over the emotional hump of it, there will pop up a moment like this where I'll be explaining, kind of my journey, and it'll just make me emotional again. And so
do you think that's...
I agree. I think I agree that is just part of the diagnosis. It's just part of the situation. And, there's good days, there's bad days, there's good hours, there's bad hours. And so, you just have to be along for the ride for all of it.
Yeah.
And, to give a little update on where I am currently. I've been through a couple of treatments already. So I'm on my 3rd line of treatment right now. And, I went through a clinical trial recently as well. We can talk about that in future episodes. If anyone's going through a trial and wants to chit chat about it, please feel free to message me and we can talk.
Bisma was a top student in her clinical trial, just in case anyone had any question of the fact.
They would come in and be like, "You're our star patients."
You get an A+ in cancer, my babe.
Star patient because I would fill out my diary so well, not because I was doing well on the medication. The medication actually didn't work that long.
An A+ in being the patient, a F- in the body responding to the medication. Yes. That's what every patient wants, that outcome, actually. Well, I'm really proud of you for sharing all of it, the good, the bad, and the super ugly, and the raw emotions of it all. So thank you for, trusting this community with that in your heart. And I want to give you the space to always feel these things.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, as hard as these stories and experiences are, I know that both of us want to be open and vulnerable and create that community where we can really just be like, this shit sucks.
Yeah.
And it's not easy. And yes, there are good days, but there are a lot of bad days as well.
Yeah. And not just physically bad days. There's just days where your heart hurts.
Yes.
But this is your spot that you can come and feel those things. What we don't want to be is a place that's just toxic positivity. We also don't want to be just trauma dumping. This is as real as it gets. We promise to share as much as we can with you guys. And we want you guys to reach out to us and share your stories too, because there's something incredibly cathartic about letting those stories out of your mouth and out of your head.
And out of your body.
Totally.
Absolutely. We want you guys to come here every week and join us. We're going to talk about our journey of becoming not so sick. And so while we have these diagnoses, we also, try to live a very fulfilling life and do a lot of things for ourselves, for our families, for our loved ones. And between Alex and I, we've tried a ton of alternative treatments, if you call them holistic treatments. And so on top of doing, what our doctors say in the Western medicine world, we also do a lot of other stuff. Anything from, acupuncture to pain management.
To ozone and EBO2. EBO2 is like large molecule dialysis to rid your body of toxins and heavy chemicals, all of that
heavy
maybe.
Metals.
Not quite sure.
Yeah. All the things.
It just rids your body of everything, but not the anxiety. That one unfortunately stays with you.
I've got something for that.
Perfect. Can you pass that to me after this? But we can't wait to dive into, us experimenting on ourselves to try to feel better. And if you guys have any tips or tricks, share them. We'll give them a go. Tell you guys what we think and feel about them. And that kind of, I guess, brings us to our last section that we are so freaking excited about. Biz, do you want to do the honors?
So yeah, we're so excited to be doing this with you guys. What we're thinking of doing is that every week at the end of our episodes, we're going to have this little segment where we're going to read out questions and comments that you guys have sent in, and we'll answer them on here for you. So please follow us on our socials at the Not So Sick Chicks and send us your questions and comments, and hit like, subscribe, follow wherever you're listening to or watching this podcast. We are so excited to be doing this.
And y'all, we set up a voicemail because we're 90s girlies. So please call our hotline bling, say your name, say where you're calling from, share your mentee bees with us, ask us questions, tell a story, and we can't wait to hear from y'all. And we can't wait to heal with y'all. So
we're so
thanks
excited
for joining us.
Bye, guys. See you
Love
next week.
you.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Not So Sick Chicks. Remember, new episodes drop every Monday.
Subscribe and rate 5 stars. And of course, send this to a friend who is a sick chick trying to be a little less sick. We're all in this together.
Follow us on socials at the Not So Sick Chicks.
And we'll see you next week.